YouTube, it's Angie. So I have a quick little tag video for you today. This was originally done by Books Beauty Ameriie, but I think I originally saw it on Richard's channel at RichardReads, and then I saw Janie at BookWorm's Buddy did it, and they just tagged whoever saw it. So it looked like fun, so here I am. And I will link all their videos below, but it's really simple, really quick. This is called the Bookolutions Tag. And I will just jump into the questions here. So the first one is a series I plan to begin. And that would be the Gemma Doyle trilogy. I finally got all the books to these, so I know this is like everybody's already read this already, but I haven't. So that will be one of my top series to get to this year. A series you plan to finish is the Inkheart trilogy. I finished Inkheart, so I just have Ink Spell and Ink Death to do. A book I've been putting off reading but will finally read is, it took me a minute to think of one that I've definitely been putting off for a long time other than like Les Mis, because I keep starting and restarting that one. But I remembered I had a copy of Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt, and I always feel guilty that I haven't read this yet because Frank McCourt is an Irish author. I'm Irish from my mother, and you know, as you can maybe tell, I've had some hesitation going into this book because of the visual the title gives me. That, and I know from people who have read this and have recommended it to me and said it's so beautiful but it's so sad. So I'm going into it pretty much assuming this is going to tear up my heart. And I did the same thing when I read Marley and Me. I knew going in that I was going to have my heart stomped on, and I did, but I'm glad I read it. So yeah, I want to get this one off my TBR and on my red shelf, and maybe get into some of his other works, because I've read like little bits and pieces of some of his other stuff and really liked it. So I think I will really like this. It's just that is this roadblock around the title and the fact that everyone says it's really, really sad. So that's one I want to get off my TBR. And book or series I plan to reread, that will probably be the Velvet Jean series. I don't have the fourth book, American Blonde, but I do want to find that at some point and reread this series because I really like the character of Velvet Jean. And if you're not familiar, this is about a girl who, she starts out really in this community that's, it's in a really poor Appalachian community, where she marries really young to a traveling preacher and then decides that's not the life she wants. And so her brother leaves her this pickup truck that at first she doesn't know how to drive, but then she learns how to drive it, and that leads into the other stories of she leaves the town and she learns to fly, she becomes a stunt flyer, and then she goes into World War II and she becomes a spy, and it's just this really cool series. So I want to reread that. And then the other one I've been contemplating getting to this year, but though it may be closer to fall before I get into it, is I want to reread the Center Ring trilogy, or I think it's technically called the Spangle trilogy, by Gary Jennings. And I've mentioned this one a couple times on this channel, but this is about a traveling circus that travels on like wagons and stuff in the 1800s, and they start out, I think they start out in like New York or somewhere on the East Coast, and then travel all over Europe and meet a bunch of famous people through this traveling circus. And this series is basically examining the lives of the people within the circus, and it's just, I loved this series the first time I read it, which I think was back in high school. This was one of the first adult series I remember finishing, and I haven't picked it up again. Even though I have these great memories of it, I haven't picked it up again in probably at least 12 years. And so I had this at my parents' house, and after my dad passed away and we moved my mom to her new apartment where she lives now, my brother was packing up all the stuff in the house, and he found these two, but he said he couldn't find this one. So I don't know if it got damaged or what, accidentally thrown away, who knows. But I didn't have it for the longest time, and then on one of my most recent book hunts, I found the third book. so I can finally reread this. So I would like to get to that this year. Genre which I'd like to read more of, I would say probably graphic novels, because I have only gotten into them in the last few years. I've read all the ones that I did have on my shelves, except for these little ones. And these are graphic classics. They're graphic novels of classic novels. And the artwork is really cool in them, but I've been putting off reading them because I haven't read their original stories in a long time, and I'm kind of tempted to reread the stories before I get back into the graphic novels, because I don't remember them a lot except for this one. This is the graphic novel of Wuthering Heights, and I also have The Last of the Mohicans and Gulliver's Travels. So yeah, I want to read more graphic novels, and there was something else. What else did I want to read? Oh, and I also want to get more into, I want to start looking for more short story collections, because for the longest time they were not my favorite genre, but in the last few years I have started finding collections that I do like, and so I do want to grow my short story collection and get more into those, and stop saying I'm not a short story person, because I think it was just that the ones I had read in the past were not for me, but I'm starting to find genres within short story collections that I do like. So I want to get more into that. I do a book tallying on both Goodreads and BookLikes, but I like the BookLikes version a little bit better. It's a little bit better of a visual for me, because they give you a progress bar that you can look at any time. I don't have to go digging around for it, and they don't have, like, I've heard that Goodreads has rules that, like, if you've already read a book, they don't count it or something, and you have to relog it or something. I haven't run into that problem with BookLikes. If I say I read it that year, I just document that I read it that year and they count it. So I like the BookLikes version better, and I think I set my BookLikes bar at 220 or 225 this year. I can't remember exactly right now, but I did that because last year I set it at 200 and I ended up reading 215. I used to feel like I was a slow reader, because it can take me, usually if the book is like 200 pages or something like that, like a little novella, I can read it in a day or two. Up to 400 pages, it usually takes me like maybe 3 or 4 days, and then anything past that is anybody's guess. It could be a couple weeks or a couple months, and or a whole year, I don't know. So I always felt like I was kind of a slow reader, because you know, I do have a mild bit of dyslexia, where I stumble on words a lot. I have to reread passages a lot. I struggle a little bit with reading comprehension if I don't read it multiple times. But I feel like since I've joined BookTube that my reading speed has actually increased, and I don't know if that's just doing it more often and doing more readathons, but I feel like I'm burning through a lot more books than I used to. So thank you, BookTube. And then the last question is, what is one of your non-bookish resolutions? And I think I mentioned this in my book goals video, or whatever I named it, where I talked about my goals for the year. And one of my resolutions is to relearn the hula hoop, because I haven't really picked it up since I was like in my early teens. I kind of let it drop off, but I'm starting to get to the age now where it's it's harder for me to just be like, yeah, whatever, garbage disposal, and not have it matter. I used to be able to do that. It's a little bit harder now. Just, I'm getting sick of my mushy middle. It's not, I don't have like a beach ball belly or anything like that, but it's enough to where it's just enough to throw off the fit of my clothes and annoy the crap out of me. So I asked around to some of my friends that were in dance and yoga and things like that, and people kept bringing up the hula hoop, saying, oh, it's great. And it's like, well, that doesn't seem, too terribly hard. I figured it out when I was a kid. It's just Yeah, so I'm hoping, because I'm not good with like getting down on the floor and doing crunches and all that. I get bored and then I won't stick with it. So I need things that don't feel like I'm actually working out to stay with it. So I do good when I do things like hiking and dancing and boxing and things like that, because I don't associate them with working out. So yeah, I'm gonna try the hula hoop. And yeah, I don't have the big goal of dropping a ton of weight, because I don't cry myself to sleep at night over the way I look now. It's just, I wouldn't mind being just a smidge better and being a little bit closer to what it looked like when my husband met me. So yeah, that's one of my non-bookish goals, is to pick up the hula hoop and see if at the very least I could maybe go down one or two jean sizes. And if I do that, I'm good. I'm happy. So there you go. Those are my Bookolutions answers. And yeah, just wanted to get this done before it was past the first of the year, first month of the year, and then it got weird. So alright guys, it's still a little cold outside. It's yeah, it's kind of nasty making homemade chili tonight, so I gotta jump off here and go make some homemade cornbread to go with it, and then I may come back and edit some videos. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.